Good evening, Dolphins fans. Welcome to another episode of On the FinSide here with Kat and Paul. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Well, we needed one of four things to happen tonight. Um, Dolphins win or one of three teams to lose, and that did not happen. Um, I mean, so the Dolphins finished the season at 10-6, and right now they hold the third and the 18th overall pick in the NFL draft. And out of respect, I am wearing the number 17 Ryan Tannehill jersey because without the Tennessee Titans, the Dolphins would be picking in the 7 to 9 range here. But still a hard victor or a hard loss here. I mean, the Dolphins lose 56-20 to 26 here. Incredible here, Paul. So, I mean, overall, how are you right now? I mean,
I'm surprisingly good. God, yeah, it's a lot of I means. But before the season, I had Miami going 10-6, making the playoffs, and exiting in round one. That's where I was projecting they'd be at, and they landed at 10-6. They coulda, shoulda, woulda for the playoffs. You can make all the bones you want about being 10-6 and missing the playoffs. Fact is, they did. The NFC sucks this year, so there's better records in the AFC. It happens. I mean, there were things I saw today that I've thought about all season, and I will say I'm glad you didn't put the Tannehill jersey on, quite obviously, until after the final whistle, which I appreciate because he probably would have broke his leg, and then we would have had, to rely on Derrick Henry to throw the pass for Tennessee that put them in field goal range. But I'm doing well. I still don't want Chan Gailey anywhere near my team anymore. I really, really hope for my birthday anyway that the Dolphins get the receivers a few sets of hands. And other than that, I'm pretty good right now.
yeah, I'm fine right now too. I mean, I said before the show that if the Dolphins went 10-6 and got the third overall pick in the draft, I would consider that a dream scenario before the season. Um, and eh, but man, it still sucks to lose by 30 points in a game that you really had to have. You lose 56-26, and at some point we thought that the Bill starters were going to leave the lineup. And they did at a certain point. They did in the second half, but that second quarter was a complete tsunami. I mean, Isaiah McKenzie scores 3 touchdowns, 2 on Nick Needham and 1 on special teams, and then the fourth touchdown was just a holy crap! I can't believe Josh Allen ripped the ball like that type of moment. So and then from that point in the second half, it was all downhill from there. I mean, Tua threw 3 interceptions. One of them, Devonte Parker, falls down. Another one, or actually 2 more, he sails the ball over the head of the receivers. A lot of drop passes. Just an ugly game throughout.
It was, and I'm going to bring something up that comes from playing experience, it comes from coaching experience, and it comes from any sport out there. And this is why I finger point a little heavily at Chan Gailey when it comes to this one. At some point, yes, the Dolphins were in quicksand today. They couldn't get it done in any facet of the game. I get it. The receivers losing their hands in the second half was horrific. But it's also a scenario where I really think that the kickoff the game play calling and the short yardage play calling from Chan Gailey, if you don't believe in what is being called and coached, you start to see a lackadaisical effort. And once that lackadaisical effort, even if it starts in one area, starts there, you will see it spread like wildfire. If the defense doesn't believe in what's happening on the offensive side of the ball, you see a loss of effort and focus. If and that just
So let's
spin and stop.
let's dig a little bit deeper on that too.
Yeah,
What would you have done differently if you were Chan Gailey?
I would have opened. I wouldn't have called an offense that in the first half that looked like they were playing in 4 inches of snow and you couldn't whip the. Now, if they were whipping the ball downfield and
Yeah.
Isaiah Ford was dropping 5 passes in the first half, fine, absolutely fine. But they weren't. They were playing everything up in a box, and it was bad. It was bad. And they got away from Miles Gaskin, who was averaging 5.5 yards a carry, I think, by the end of this game. They got away from running the ball. They didn't take it. The offensive line, I thought, played well
Well,
overall today.
they flat out didn't run the ball. I mean,
Yeah.
for really 2 quarters at a time, and heading into this game, Miles Gaskin had needed 105 total yards to get 1,000 of overall yards on the season. He didn't do anything today. I mean, he had 7 carries for 20 yards, but I I say too that Devonte Parker, 7 catches, 116 yards. We see the value that he brings on a down to down basis. The Dolphins need to surround themselves with more Devonte Parkers, with more healthy Mike Gesicki's. And the reason for that is because, look, when it comes to Tua, it, it's a couple of things. He can move his feet well. He's intelligent, or he throws the ball over the top. But what I saw today, it just didn't make a lot of sense there with Tua throwing the ball, and he was trying to bury the ball into tight spots over and over and over again.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I don't give a damn if we bring in trees. I don't give a damn if we bring in short, fat bowling balls. If they can get open and catch the ball, that's what I care about. And I hate to say it, Devonte Parker became a factor when the game plan opened up in the second half. That he had 1 catch for 8 yards in the first half, and he doesn't thrive in a 6 yards within the line of scrimmage offense. He doesn't.
Yep.
We weren't taking advantage of the tools we had, and it turned into damn quicksand. And I can't fully fault anybody outside of Chan and the wide receivers, even though, yes, they did score some points on special teams. Yes, they did score some points against our defense. But, it's with guys catching like they're Chris Clemens at safety. That's not a good scenario to be in.
Yeah, Isaiah Ford had at least 5 passes ricochet off his chest, and that is pretty emblematic of what the Dolphins did on offense today, and the personnel that they had out there. Because look, Isaiah Ford, wait, I don't know how many snaps he played, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 to 50, and my light keeps going out here, if which is pretty much emblematic too of the Dolphin season. 45 to 50 snaps here from Isaiah Ford today, and when you have a player out there who you traded to the Patriots and you're inside your own division for a 7th round pick, they cut him. You got him back on the practice squad, and he gets back on your team and plays in a game like this. It shows that you need more weapons at wide receiver and running back.
It does to an extent, but it also shows you're mismanaging your personnel. Malcolm Perry got in and suddenly caught a ball. Kirk Merritt on your practice squad. The guy was somebody who got separation in college and has shown athletic ability when given a chance. He just hasn't been able to do it in an actual game. And with Isaiah Ford getting a healthy amount of snaps, I'm sorry, he should have been on the roster today, and he should have gotten a shot out there, because it's if you're throwing out Mac Hollins and Isaiah Ford, and I liked Isaiah Ford, but that set of dropsies today, you cannot count on a guy like that in that scenario.
If you're talking about Isaiah Ford, Malcolm Perry, Savon Ahmed, Durham Smythe, Adam Shaheen, I look at a roster and say that this is not good enough. at this at these skill positions, and that's obvious. These are backups, and they do the best that they can. Um, but you know,
Now,
other
I'm
than
not.
that,
I'm just going to jump in for 1 second there, and I'll throw it right back to you, Kat.
mhm.
I'm not going to dig Smythe, and I'm not going to dig Shaheen. I thought they played all right today. I really did. Those two played all right. I can't
Yeah,
dig them. It's more so they. I mean, they did find a good way to use the tight ends this year. They all three rotation there. I can't dig that, but the wide receiver, have at them.
yeah. I mean, Devonte Parker had a lot of special catches today, and that's what he brings. Even though people have been dogging him, I mean, he's next year he's going to be the 26th highest paid receiver in the league. That is worth obviously bringing him back. There's, he's going to be 28 years old next year. Um, Lynn Bowden is a good piece. Jakeem Grant is a good piece. And at tight end, Durham Smythe, Adam Shaheen, they are who they are. Mike Gesicki, I think, can bring some incredible talents to the table, but he's not playing at 100%. He's playing with a shoulder that he shouldn't be playing with right now. I mean,
And he's not
so
playing tight end.
yeah,
He's playing. He's playing
he's a
big.
wide receiver.
Yeah.
He's big slot. He's a wide receiver right now. That's all that he is right now. And look, and Gesicki after Travis Kelce, after Darren Waller, after maybe one or two other tight ends after that, you're talking about one of the you know top receiving tight ends in the league, and that's what we're carrying forward to the next season. So there are a lot of good pieces here, but other than that, I mean, not a good effort today. And you cannot, I don't care what the circumstances are, cannot let up 56 points in a game where you have to make the playoffs. You lost by 30 points in this game. So sad state of affairs there. I mean, but it's not all bad because the Dolphins have the third pick, they have the 18th pick, and they have the 36th pick in the NFL draft. And we have all of that to look forward to here in the season or in the off season where we shine.
Love, 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 love the off-season stuff. You already know this, and a couple of our listeners do if you follow me out on Twitter. I'm already in mock draft mode. I had fun with one the other night where I managed to trade down from third to sixth overall and just built a freaking roster in a 4-round mock that I loved. And one thing I will tell our listeners, and this is something that's true of you and it's true of me, is we have a tendency when we're doing our mock drafts, if there is somebody we truly, truly believe will not be out there, even if they're there and shining right in front of us on the mock draft board, we skip them. We pretend that they are not there because we try to make it as realistic as possible when we do these mocks.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you personally, I hate mock drafts. Period.
Which is why I send you as many as I can.
I look. We're going to do mock draft episodes too, but yeah, overall, I mean, look, it gives a good analysis of what players are going to be there, and you're going to see a lot of players rise and fall between now and the NFL draft. I mean, we're still 4 months away, and I can't wait for it. But I'm glad that the Dolphins got that number 3 pick, and what an amazing game that was. I mean, the Titans backup kicker bangs the ball off the upright to give the Titans a 41-38 victory. If it weren't for that, the Dolphins probably would have fell 3 to 5 spots in the NFL draft. So fantastic on that front. But Paul, when you look at the defensive side of the ball, I mean, other than Nick Needham, who got burned for several plays today. I mean, 2 touchdowns by Isaiah McKenzie, and Nick Needham's done a good job this year. But other than him, and I can't find a lot to complain about. And that sounds crazy after a 56 point or after allowing 56 points on defense.
Yeah, I'm with you. There wasn't any huge. Well, I take it back. Nick Needham, and don't shoot me because I know he's your guy or your boy, and I'm being facetious there. But Calvin Munson, and it's not his fault. He was overmatched, and there were a lot of big runs in crunch time that went right over and by him.
Yeah, he was terrible today. He was terrible.
He was atrocious on defense, and he was a big seeping, weeping sore in the middle of that defense. Unfortunately today, but overall, yeah, no, there weren't a lot of huge things to complain about. I mean, a couple of guys got roasted once or twice. It happens. Like Byron got beat on pure, unadulterated speed. There was a pass rush today. They got a lot of licks on Josh Allen, and they got a lot of licks on Matt Barkley. Only one of them found pay dirt. Andrew Van Ginkel had a hell of a game. I can't trash him. The defense overall had a rough day, but it wasn't as rough as the final score looked like.
Yeah, I look at the game like this. In the second quarter, the Bills put up 28 points. Three of them were by Isaiah McKenzie, two roasting Nick Needham, one of them that was on a punt return. Josh Allen ripped another touchdown to John Brown over Byron Jones in a holy crap, I can't believe he threw that ball type of moment. It was an incredible pass. And then you get into the third quarter, Josh Norman, our Devonte Parker falls down. Josh Norman gets a pick six. Now it's 35 points. And then from that point, it was holy crap. I can't believe that they're still throwing the ball. And the Bills' backup running back, I can't even remember his name, to be quite honest. He was pulled up from the practice squad. Antonio Williams got two touchdowns, and there was another touchdown somewhere in there. So, yeah, I mean, it was, but to me, this wasn't what you can expect from the Dolphins defense heading into 2021.
No, and in all honesty, I felt like if Miami had squeaked into the playoffs, they would have at least made a lot more of a game of it next week. You know, shoot how you will on that one, but I think they would have made more of a game of it, even if they lost next week. This was just an overall stink fest. The offense couldn't get rolling. Between even once they open it up in the second half, which I hate waiting to the second half to open it up, especially when a team hangs 28 on you in the second quarter. If you wait till the second half to open it up, you're too damn late most of the time in a big scoring game.
Yeah, the floodgates certainly opened at that point. So we're going to have a lot of time to talk about the offseason. The good news is the Dolphins did go 10-6. They have the third pick. They have the 18th pick. They have the 35th pick. Micah Parsons, I'll tell you what, I'm 100% Penny Sewell at this point. And the reason for that is because I do not want the Dolphins with Tua at quarterback to be a C or a C minus at any position. And I saw C minus work here today. When it comes to the offensive line, look, they've got a lot of good parts. Eric Flowers was a decent signing. Ted Karras was a decent signing. Austin Jackson and Robert Hunt at the tackle spots have shown good promise as well. But also Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison were made inactive right before the game too. So I want the Dolphins offensively with Tua to be a dominant position, to have a dominant position at one spot. I don't care if it's offensive line. I don't care if it's receiver, but they've got to do something as far as just stockpiling on a position here.
And that's where, I mean, based on some of the exercises and mocks, et cetera, that I've done thus far, which you can point at them any which way you like. But that is where, for me, getting that third overall pick and having a couple of quarterbacks that are big targets for some folks there, and having Penei Sewell that's going to be a big target for some folks there, allows you to potentially be able to slide back to 5 or 6 with a good solid trade, possibly have a bidding war, add some additional ammunition to get dominant at positions like, and yes, I am talking take Micah Parsons with that 5th or 6th pick, but I see a lot of talent at wide receiver that can be had in the late 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round, as far as guys that can get separation and guys that actually have hands to supplement the guys on this roster. You know, yeah.
So right, and we can talk about the draft for a long time, and we're going to here in the next couple of months. The big thing is, you know, I'm in favor of trading back one spot for the Falcons to come up right now, or I'm in favor of trading back way back to get 2 or 3 first rounders. But if I'm feeling like I'm feeling now, I want to get a Penny Sewell or I want to get a Micah Parsons. And at that point, I don't know if you trade back a couple of spots and mess with it, but that's a conversation for another day. So let's go by. Let's go with our positional grades here. First at quarterback, Paul. When you look at the stat sheet, Tua threw for over 300 yards, 3 interceptions, passing touchdown to Malcolm Perry, also a rushing touchdown as well. But third quarter, the Dolphins only have 6 points on the board. It was not a good day for Tua, and the Dolphins have to get Tua to a point where the Dolphins can go into Buffalo and take down that opponent, because that is the key opponent, not just in the AFC East, but maybe in the entire NFL at this point. So can't give him any higher than a D right now.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with a D as well. I was flirting with anywhere from D minus to D plus. Yes, he had the 3 interceptions. One of them, Parker, fell down. One of them bounced off of Isaiah Ford's chest and up into the air and to a defensive back. And the other was just he sailed the ball. Fine. If he hadn't had the second half overall that he did based on where he was locating his throws, I would have a much larger problem and a much easier time throwing an F on top of him. It was a D today. He is a rookie. He is developing. He doesn't typically make the same mistake twice. I don't fully fault Tua for this loss. It's a D.
Yeah, it's and people have to remember that Tua is a rookie. And I know that sounds like an excuse when you take a look at how well Justin Herbert played this year. And that was kind of the choice on draft day. But the reality is, too, that Justin Herbert set the league record for touchdowns. If you're going to have any quarterback expect him to hit the same standard as a Justin Herbert, then you're going to be looking for a very, very long time as far as what Herbert did this year. And we're not sure if Herbert's going to replicate that either. And running back, I'll make this easier. I'm going to go with a D minus. I was very disappointed with Myles Gaskin today and Savon Ahmed. I mean, I was disappointed as well with how Chan Gailey did not rely on the running game at any point. I mean, like we said before, he went a quarter and a half, 2 quarters without running the football. But when the Dolphins did, it didn't go very well. So I'm going to go with a D minus.
I'm going to go with a C minus for the running backs. They did well when given the opportunity. They just weren't given the opportunity very often, which was surprising. It was almost like Chan Gailey tried to outsmart the defense by not running it, not throwing it deep, throwing a bunch of passes within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. And it wasn't good enough, and it wasn't their fault. They ran through holes that were there. They ran for some tough yards. It just, I can't give an incomplete and I can't give a high grade because they weren't given the opportunities even before the game got out of hand. So C minus for me.
I'm so pissed here that this light keeps going out for this. Anyway, I'm talking out loud. C minus for the running back spot. I'm going to go with as far as the wide receivers and the tight ends here, I'm going to go with, Devonte Parker, 7 catches, 116 yards. Mike Gesicki, 5 catches for 47 yards. He started to get open. And I think those are 2 very good weapons, especially for the value heading into next year. Lynn Bowden, 8 catches, 44 yards. I mean, but the biggest blemish here is certainly Isaiah Ford, and it saddens me to say that because Isaiah Ford has put forward a lot of very good efforts here over the last 3 years. Today was not one of those days. So many drops from him. Matt Collins also somebody I expected to step up a little bit. One catch for 3 yards. So at receiver, even though Isaiah or Devonte Parker at 7 for 116, he also had that pick six. He fell down. Josh Norman takes it back to the house. Probably the biggest play of the game when the Dolphins were starting to come back. So I'm gonna go with a C- for this unit.
Parker had 100 something yards today. Lynn Bowden had some good moments, including a completed pass. But when Miami started mounting a comeback, it was the wide receiver position that failed completely. Isaiah Ford with drops. Devonte had a couple of critical drops. Mac Hollins had a critical drop, and we got to factor in the tight ends. Gesicki had a couple drops. It just was a snowballing effort from the entire unit overall, and it really wasn't good enough. And when it looked like Miami could mount a comeback, they fell apart. I'm gonna give my first F of the episode here, even with a 100-yard receiver in this game.
Yeah, I don't blame you. In fact, based on what you said, I'm thinking about taking my grade down. Um,
Do it. Bring it down.
nah, I
Come
can't take
on.
it. I can't
Bring
take
it
it back.
down, Cat.
We're gonna take it to the offensive line. I'm gonna throw it back to you on that.
Honestly, the offensive line wasn't an issue today. Um, did they have a couple of struggles here and there? Yeah, but they overall kept Tua pretty clean, and they opened up running lanes when asked to. I I can't ask for much more from them, and that's even without one of my favorite players on the field very often. So I mean, I remember watching Jesse Davis run his big fat ass down the field and plow somebody out of the way. I can go with a B minus for the offensive line. They really weren't the issue in this game in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay right with you on the B-. I mean, my overall issue with this unit is the athleticism. Eric Flowers doesn't get downfield enough. Jesse Davis doesn't get downfield enough. But on a couple of Miles Gaskins uh, screen passes, they did get downfield. But I have a problem with the overall athleticism on this unit. But at the tackle spots, I didn't see a lot of that, or a lot of, or excuse me, I didn't see a lot of pass rush or pressure from the offensive or from the defensive ends from the Bills. But then again, Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison were out in this game too. So I'm going to go with a B- as well. Defensive line, you know, I felt like this unit played very well early, and then afterward, and as the game went on, it really wasn't that way anymore. I mean, Emmanuel Ogba got pressure on the quarterback. Raekwon Davis and Christian Wilkins got in the backfield several times. But as the game went on and as we got into the third quarter, it wasn't quite the case. So overall, I'm going to go with a B- for the defensive line as well.
I'm going to go with a B. I thought Agba had a good game, even though he doesn't show up much on the stat sheet. Andrew Van Ginkel continued to be lights out as far, and I think he really would have gotten to pay dirt a little more often and might have stopped that punt return if he wasn't getting tackled and literally thrown to the ground at times. And that is not what caused the loss in this game. That is not what caused the loss. But there were plays where I literally saw him get grabbed and thrown to the ground. But then there were plays where you saw him walk a 300-pound lineman back into the backfield like it was nothing. So Van Ginkel had a good game, and I didn't have an issue with the interior line either. So I can go with a B for these guys.
Zach Sealer, as good of a year as he's had, he jumped off sides in this game in a very important play where John Brown caught that long touchdown. I think it was on that play. If not, it was on another important play. But yeah, I mean, another thing too is Christian Wilkins. Now, this is like in the last two games, the third time that he's completely beat the guard in front of him and then fall into the ground. And, you know, overall for the year, 2 sacks, not good enough for the former 13th overall pick. I hope he does better next year. At linebacker, eh, you know, Kyle Van Noy is pretty invisible today, and that's kind of a shame for this type of game. Jerome Baker, you know, you know, linebacker, I'm going to go with a C. I mean, what more can I say? Not really any breakout plays from this unit.
I thought Baker was all right. I thought Van Noy didn't look into it, but didn't look like the problem. But Calvin Munson, and through no fault of his own, drags this
Yeah.
grade down for me. It's Miami needs an upgrade at linebacker this offseason, and they've only got 2 or 3 guys under contract. So, and that's part of why, as hokey as it is, I've got my little Micah Parsons sheet right here. There are other guys I've got eyes on in the draft. But again, this team is built to run on defense, and you can't do that. Like, linebackers are one of the most critical things in the type of defense that Flores and Boyer want to run. And Munson at times today, I really wish they had just gone to a 2 linebacker look and just had a ton of defensive linemen or defensive backs on the field. He was that bad.
Yeah, when you look at the last couple of weeks, I mean, Calvin Munson, Clayton Fedulum, and Nick Needham plays a lot of snaps, and Nick Needham has done a great job this year. But that 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 defense, when you look at the depth, and when you play a team like the Buffalo Bills, you really need to have a great 45-man roster. And when you get it down to Calvin Munson and those types of players, it's not good enough. Paul, I'm going to throw it back to you for the grade on the defensive backs.
Well, Byron did what we said he was gonna in this one, and pulled down his second interception of the year, which was a beautiful toe tap jump on a ball. X got his 10th of the year. Nick Needham had a rough game. Again, this is like one person dragging down a unit. I didn't have a problem with Bobby, even though he didn't have the type of game we've come to expect from him, or Eric Rowe in this one. It's Byron got roasted once, and Nick Needham got roasted a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a C plus for this unit. Or no, B minus. B minus for this unit. I mean, we had 2 interceptions from him today, and yeah,
I never quite understood why the defensive backs were playing so far off the ball in against a wide receiver unit that you really don't have a speed demon in that wide receiver unit. And there were so many easy underneath passes. Never quite understood that. But from a personnel standpoint, yeah, Xavier Howard gets his 10th interception. He is the first player in the NFL to get 10 interceptions, double digit interceptions since 2007, where Antonio Cromartie had double digit interceptions. Um, Byron Jones with an incredible play early in the game that was overturned. And that was something that should have really set the Dolphins on fire in this game early on. Instead, they get a field goal. Then the Bills come back. It's 7-3, then it's 14-3, then 21-3. The rest is history. It's a shame. And I have no problem with what Bobby McCain or Eric Rowe did in this game, too. So overall, Nick Needham as well drags this game down, or drags this grade down here as well. So, but when you look at the stat sheet as well, I mean, you have almost 400 yards passing, some of which were from Matt Barkley. So I'm going to give this unit a C. Special teams, Paul. Matt Hawk, early in the game, had a 32-yard punt. And Malcolm Perry let a ball go right over his left shoulder and out of bounds at the 1-yard line, which really screwed up field position early in the game. So that hurt early on. Jason Sanders nails a 49-yard field goal. Not a lot else that I can remember from that unit, but more negatives than positives. So I'm going to go with the C on this unit too.
I'm going to go with a D. You let them score. You let them pin you deep a lot, and you didn't pin them deep. Miami has relied on their special teams to really be critical in flipping the field position this year, and they just weren't today. They didn't tackle well, not just on that one. Not good enough.
Yeah, not good enough indeed. So, Paul, who is your Coke Bus player of the game? Who is your player of the game?
I am going to look squarely at Isaiah Ford here as my Coke Bus player of the game. Even if we were able to say coaches and I could throw Chan Gailey on that hot seat, I'd still be looking at Isaiah Ford here. It felt like he had 20 drop passes today, even though I believe he only had 4 or 5. Directly caused an interception. And just when Miami started mounting a comeback, he was the worst offender when it came to basically making that fall apart. He got separation, was open, like why, like Alabama open, to borrow a phrase from a lot of Dolphins fans on Twitter. Got hit in the hands, and I don't give a damn if it's cold out. You got to catch a little more. Like, you 1 or 2 drops, I get it. Reliably, regularly dropping the ball when you're wide ass open, not good enough. And then batting a ball up in the air to kill a drive with an interception, that is horrific play from a wide receiver. I would have rather had Christian Wilkins at wide receiver by the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of like if you're sitting in the bleachers and it's this, the smallest, shortest kid, and you really want him to do well, but he just isn't good enough. That's what I look at with Isaiah Ford all the time. Um, Nick Needham to me gets my Coke Bus player of the game because he's the one that put the Dolphins down 14-3, as far as I'm concerned, because he was roasted by Isaiah McKenzie early and often. My player of the game, welcome back to the lineup, Devonte Parker, for the catches that he made. Um, I I go back and forth on it because Devonte Parker had the most critical mistake of the game. The Dolphins were down 28-13, and he fell down. Josh Norman catches the interception and runs it back, and the Dolphins are now down 35-13. But it showed what Devonte Parker could do in this game. And when next year, when he is the 26th highest paid wide receiver, and you can't get rid of him on the roster at 28 years old, 6'4", 210 pounds, that's a good skill set to have. And the Dolphins need to have more of those skill sets on the roster.
They do. And, so, all right, before I get into this, because I also got to do my player of the game. Those of you watching, make sure you click like, make sure you subscribe. We're going to have a ton of great off-season content coming your way. Keep it tuned in. We've got some guests coming, all kinds of stuff. We're going to have a lot of fun with this off-season since the Dolphins have a ton of ammunition between cap space, the draft, you name it. But I had a good conversation with Rob Profit, one of our regulars here on the show the other night, about the wide receiver position. And I brought up a couple of guys, and one of the things that he had said was, he goes, well, they're a little superfluous with Devonte, Gesicki, and Preston Williams on the roster. And I love Preston Williams. I love what he brings to the table. But 2 years in the league, tell me what he's brought to the table in late October, November, and December. I'll wait. It doesn't take long to fill out his stat sheet from those months. It's what's on the backside of this paper. It's the man's hurt, and that's no fault of his own. But again, it's you can't help the team from home. This is not a job you can phone in and do your little Zoom meeting and be a part of. Like, it just isn't. And you can have all the talent in the world. I'll take Isaiah Ford on the field trying.
I won't. I think Isaiah Ford sucks.
Oh, I think he should. I'll take Jakeem Grant on the field trying.
He's also hurt, and he's hurt every year too.
But at least he comes back.
Devonte Parker had 7 catches for 116 yards
I'm
today.
talking over Preston Williams.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I'm
Yeah.
talking over Preston Williams. Devontae
Okay.
Parker at least tries to show up.
Yeah, excuse me. I completely missed that there. I thought you were talking about Devonte Parker. Yeah, Preston Williams. Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's been on injury reserve the last 2 years.
All I can
So
think of is
my
Guardians
apologies.
of the Galaxy, where the guy looks at him, he goes, "I'm Star Lord." He goes, "Who?" You know, it just it's you know, if I willingly give Preston Williams a shot, so long as we handcuff the living hell out of him next year, to make that comeback and prove me wrong. But if we go 3 years where we don't see hide nor hair of him, or it's just the legend of Preston Williams. Once you hit mid-October, I'm good. I'm out.
I would take. I'll tell you this. I would trade Preston Williams for a late 6th round pick. Okay, I don't care who hears that. I mean, you've been on injury reserve the last 2 years, and you can't play special teams. You can't play in the slot, and you need to get a better receiver in there.
Yeah.
So, no, not for me. No, Isaiah Ford's not for me. This entire running back, wide receiver, tight end spot has to be completely rethought. Actually, running back and wide receiver, not tight end. Tight end, I'm good with. So, yeah, I mean, anything that's jumped out from chat here tonight, Paul?
So a couple of things. First, I'm going to address the tight end I'm good with. Tight end I'm good with unless the right player slides to the right place.
Pitts.
If Pitts slides to the right spot, I'm in. I'm sold. I don't figure out the offense around him. Give whoever our new offensive coordinator is the toys to go with it. Pat Freiermuth, if he slides to the right spot in the late second, early third, give our new offensive coordinator the toys to play with for Tua. One of the questions that we got in chat a few times here is, do the Dolphins go? And I'm going to ask you this. Don't freak out when you hear it. Do the Dolphins go quarterback at number 3 overall?
That's a fair question at this point. I mean, the biggest thing is, do you think that Zach Wilson or Justin Fields at number 3 can be that type of franchise quarterback? Justin Fields had 6 touchdowns the other night. I don't think that he's that type of player. Zach Wilson, they're possibly at number 3. I see. Here's my thing: is that if you have that number 3 pick, and he is such a prospect like that, when you see all these teams drafting below you, Detroit, Carolina, Denver, Dallas, I'm not even sure if Washington did tonight because my internet's messed up. That's why my light's out. But you could get hopefully an additional first and second rounder to move down from that spot. And I would rather take those picks and build around Tua, or stay at the number 3 spot and take Penny Sewell. How about you?
I can't. So you know what camp I was in. Our listeners know what camp I was in going into the draft. I was afraid of Tua getting hurt and showing he was injury prone. Now, just for your other thing, Washington is up 20-14 with 45 seconds left in the game, and the Eagles have the ball. But here's my thing: you can't move on from somebody that has shown some ability here this early in a season like this one. Josh Allen looked like ass his rookie year. He did. Peyton Manning looked mediocre his rookie year. Marino struggled at times his rookie year. You can go down a list of all these great players that struggled at times. Tua has shown enough that I'm not willing to invest a first-round pick in a quarterback in this draft, unless for some reason sunshine falls and then screw it. Let's give it a shot. But overall, I want Miami to invest in the weapons around him, give Tua a full offseason, see what we've got, and get where we can from there. It's now.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
I want Miami to draft a quarterback in the next draft? Absolutely.
Yeah. If there is a quarterback that shows the physical skills to draft somewhere on day 2 or day 3, I'm 100% for that. We've always been for that. And we'll start taking a look at those prospects here in the upcoming months. And to draw a comparison, Jalen Hurts is 7 for 20 for 72 yards tonight with an interception and was benched. So, you know, that's where rookie quarterbacks tend to lie. It's not all Justin Herbert week to week. So, which by the way, he looks pretty good right now. Shame.
Yeah. Now,
Wait,
Kat, another one we got here is somebody asked about, do we want a first round talent to start now or accumulate picks? Both. If you are a first round talent, I want you to start your rookie year. I do. And it doesn't matter if you're number 3 overall or number 23 overall. Your first round talent should be contributing his rookie year. Miami got that out of 2 out of 3 of their guys, and Igbenogany did show some promise for the future. So it can be both. It doesn't have to be an either or.
yeah, and actually, Austin Jackson and Noah Igbenogany, they play 2 positions that are really hard to play as rookies too. Um, Austin Jackson, I think, has played better and better, and he also has some versatility too. And I'll go one step further, and I'm glad that this person asked it too, is that if the Dolphins draft Penny Sewell, I would like to kick Austin Jackson into left guard because he has played guard in the past. He has athleticism. He's 6'5", 320 pounds. My only complaint about him is when he's on an island, sometimes he whiffs. And that won't be a problem at left guard. Igbenogany just turned 21 last month. I mean, we'll see when it comes to him. But this year, to piggyback on what that question was, really, is the Dolphins have to get immediate response from the players that they get, because now they've got 4 picks in their first 50 and 2 in the top 18. You better not be taking developmental players. You better take players that are going to be able to contribute on day 1.
And Washington did just win that game, by the way. Came down to the
Damn.
wire, but Washington pulled it off.
Stupid Eagles.
Now, one of the ones I keep seeing here as well, Kat, and I'll let you take this first. Is X a Dolphin next year?
Yes, easily. He's going to be 20 and 29. He's going to be Defensive Player of the Year. Why does this question keep coming up in our chat? Like,
because of jackholes like Armando and Omar. Guys, if you're listening right now, and I know there's a ton of you watching and listening, I'm going to jump in here. Sorry.
No, go.
Oh.
I don't want to take this question. Go for it.
All right. Don't take Omar and Armando verbatim. I was embarrassed. I live in New England. I listened to WEI leading up to the Pats game. They got Armando on. And the just utter nonsense that came out of his mouth, I was embarrassed by. It's Omar. He's a nice dude if you meet him on the street. There's a reason he's been called out by the team for being full of it. Like,
I don't care to take any more time on this show talking about Omar or Armando or really anybody on the media.
We have to in terms of this, and to put this to bed.
Good.
X is not going anywhere unless X demands a trade. Period.
Yeah.
Like, don't take this sensationalization. Anything that you see is a story from those two that put out complete and utter clickbait and are part of the reason Kyle Van Noy won't even talk to the media unless he's forced to in Miami, and jokes about them with the national media, is because of BS like this.
I appreciate that I can deflect all media questions to you on this type of stuff, because I don't want to have anything to do with anything other than what I see on the field. And if you have Paul always has a better pulse on the media in South Florida. So
that's because I like people.
I appreciate
you don't like people.
Yeah, I really don't. That's
hey. Here, speaking of people, Allen Robinson, Kat. Allen Robinson. What do
Allen
you think?
Robinson. I think there are a lot of receivers out there in free agency. If Allen Robinson is the player that comes here, I'm totally great with that because you've got Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Juju Smith-Schuster, who I'm not a real big fan of, but might come at a cheaper price. Curtis Samuel, Kenny Galladay. I mean, it is a floodgate at wide receiver this year. That's part of the reason why I don't want to dedicate myself to have taken that third pick and having a Jamar Chase or a Devonte Smith. If you can have Devonte Parker on a good contract, Mike Gesicki as a special tight end running down the seam, and you can also get a Chris Godwin at 24 years old, I'm in for that. Or Allen Robinson too. So any free agent wide receiver, I'm in for.
So, Kat, that naturally segues to what we're being asked as well in the chat, and I know you have passionate
Go
feelings
for
about
it.
this. I know you have passionate feelings. Number 3 overall. Do you take a wide receiver in this particular draft?
No, it'd be stupid to. I mean, are and this is what I dealt with. Oh my God, Devonte Smith caught a screen pass and outran Notre Dame cornerbacks. Are you? Here's the thing: the Dolphins have the opportunity potentially at the number 3 pick to get the best non-quarterback in this draft. You're going to take a 175-pound wide receiver? Give me a break.
Yeah, no, and there are wide receivers up and down this draft that can make an impact. And somebody brought this up in chat, so I'm going to bring this up here. I actually want Albert Wilson back next year. The man gets separation and can catch the ball and can do some fun things and be interchangeable with guys like Lynn Bowden, but better, and guys like Malcolm Perry, but better overall. So I want Albert Wilson back to compete next year, period. And if he gets
Even
beat out, he gets beat
yeah,
out.
even though I've never been the biggest Albert Wilson fan, you bring him back for that 1 year, $4 million salary. That's a steal, especially if he's coming back and he's healthy. Absolutely, 100%. And these are the types of conversations we need to have in the offseason because you can spread the field with Tua and get the ball out of his hands quickly and protect him and get an offensive line around him. I'm tired of the Dolphins being having this conversation with Tua when I know that they're a C minus or a D plus at pretty much every position. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be that way after having almost $40 million in cap room and 4 picks in the top 50.
No, and there are guys all over this draft that you can point to for a lot of things. It's you want to talk about wide receivers that can get separation that you can mix in with an Allen Robinson and an Albert Wilson and a Devonte Parker and a Mike Gesicki. You've got guys like Kadarius Toney. You've got guys like Chris Olave who put on a goddamn spectacle the other night. At running back, you can add some meat to go along with the speed and elusiveness in guys like Najee Harris, guys like Ramondre Stevenson, who we've been talking about here for months. There are a lot of guys in this draft at those skill position. You don't burn the number 3 overall pick on those on 1 or 2 guys when you can trade back a little bit and get guys that can come in and be the right fit for this team.
Yeah, what's incredible is that there are people, human beings walking among us who want to have Devonte Smith as a top 5 to 6 pick instead of Chris Olave or Kadarius Toney as an early second rounder. Who are these people? I mean, I don't. You have to be stupid to want that, and not we're not going to be those stupid people here on the show. So as we continue to go along, Paul, before I get too angry and too
Get angry.
grumpy, we're going to close out the show because we've got a lot going on here in the off season. We're going to continue to have these types of conversations. Thank you for everybody in the chat. Great questions. And Keep them coming here throughout the offseason. I'm Brian Cat, NFL. Paul is fanatic_pick. Follow us also on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, and hang in there, okay? Hang in there because the Dolphins have the 3rd pick and the 18th pick in the draft, and it's our time to shine here on the FinSide. And if it's not on the right side and it's not on the left side, it is on the FinSide.